get started. Little confusion on my name. They put my name on the register or the calendar as Tukey, which is my nickname. My real name's Faun, so my name says Faun. So little schizophrenia, but other than that, we'll be good. Okay. This is really a pretty simple class. It's just some things that I've done to help me find names to take to the temple. My husband and I moved here. That's my husband, Brad. We moved here 3 years ago in March. So I grew up in South Carolina, and my mother's family were French Huguenots, and they were in the town that I'm from, well, the county that I'm from. They were there by 1690 is the first recorded record I have of them. And so it's made my family history on her side a lot easier to do because we were the first ones to leave. Our daughter, our youngest daughter, married a boy from Burley, and he basically kidnapped her. He came to South Carolina, dental school, 4 years, stayed for 3 years of residency, so he was there for 7 years. We wined and dined him, even killed 2 alligators because he loves to hunt. I just knew we'd run him over. And the second he finished, he's not going back to Burley. So that was that. So, but we like it. We like it. I'm not crazy about the winter, but I love the summers. Anyway, I'm glad to be here, and I want to put in a plug for the Family History Center right away. It's the best. It's a wonderful family history center. I was so amazed the first time we walked in and saw all the things that are there. This community is so blessed to have it. They have things we were on a mission in Oakland, California, and Oakland didn't have nearly the equipment to digitize things that we have here. So kudos to the staff, or I think it's kudos to Tammy. She knows how to go after things. So I have found 3 things that I use a lot just to find. See, is everybody in here LBS or not LBS? Doesn't matter. Not LBS. Okay. I will do it that way then. I was just going to say it's a little temple trick, but we won't worry about it because we can figure it out. Okay. All right. The first thing I do is when you go on Family Search, if you come up to Family Tree and go over one more to cemeteries. Now, let me even back up from that. I want you to go to Family Tree and click on Tree. This is an important thing to check just periodically. And you see how on the far right side, it'll tell you ordinances or birthplaces or whatever. I want you to check just periodically for research helps. Mine, I'm going to be real sad if I have a research help. I don't, because I check this religiously. If I had a research hint, it would tell me right there, record hint. It would be blue, would have a blue dot by that person's name. And what that is computer has found a record they think goes to that person. And some of them are pretty, dry, like obituaries sometimes are real confusing to use. Some of them are wonderful. They're things that you can really get a lot of information out of. Most recently, I have Jacques Alfrey right here. He's my other French ancestor and my most recent immigrant on my tree. He came to South Carolina in the 1850s. He was born in Lyon, France, and I'd done a good bit of work on him, but I thought I'd done all that I could do. And in November, all of a sudden there was a blue dot by Jacques, and I looked and they had just dumped all these French records. And I added so many names to the tree because I'd find this, and then that would lead me to this, and then that would lead to that. His daddy was, I think he was married 3 times. The wives kept dying and he kept getting married again. So just always go back and check for record hints. Now remember, on this tree, that's just your grandparents and your parents. It's not anybody else. It's not brothers and sisters or aunts and uncles. And so once you get up and look at his page and look for his records, then that sometimes will lead you to his brother, which will lead you, and so it snowballs. And in fact, my family got a little bit aggravated with me because at Thanksgiving, we had a lot of company, and every chance I got, I'd sneak off my laptop looking for more hints. But so yeah, that was the first thing. That's not the main thing I wanted to show you, but that's important to check those record hints because they have people on missions all the time, that all they do is they go around and take pictures of records. They might go to Europe, they might go to Japan, they might go anywhere, and then they send it back, huh?
Texas.
Yeah,
Family search record preservation.
you did do that then.
San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, and so you get to wear jeans on that mission, don't you? Because we had friends that did it, and they kind of could wear their grubbies because they were moving books, and I thought that sounded cool, but you didn't have to. But I'm such a terrible photographer, I would have messed it up. But those records are being done all the time and sent back, and they aren't being indexed as quickly as they're being taken. But now that artificial intelligence is helping with it, I think it's going to happen a lot faster. But as those records come up, if you've got your names in them right, with the right algorithm, you've written your name right, you've written the dates and everything like they want you to, the computer's going to find it and it's going to tag it. Hey, we got you in the record. So always check that. All right. Another thing that's been very successful for me, and again, like I say, I've had a very stationary family. Let me go back. You go to search, the bottom of the search column is cemeteries. You click on cemeteries, and the cemetery search comes up. And I'm going to show you Berkeley County, South Carolina is where I'm from. And I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to say, I just want to see all the cemeteries in Berkeley County, South Carolina. And so a lot, and it's not a big, it's geographically a big county, but population is not a real big county. So that makes it nice. So all these cemeteries are going to come up. And so I'm going to click on one. I think I have some, okay, yeah, I do have people in here. Do you see, they telling me that there's 1,200 people in this cemetery I'm related to. Okay, so that's telling me these people are in family search, because they wouldn't be in family search. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know we were related. See what I'm saying? So I think they're already in family search, but I just can kind of look at them and see. And I'm not going to probably look at the older dates. I might. It depends on how dedicated I feel that day. But I'm probably just going to kind of look at people that are born around, I don't know, between 1900 and 1915, something like that. Come on in, Brother Frank. So we'll just pick a person. I'm just going to pick one at random. And have you used Find a Grave before? Y'all know, do you know about Find a Grave? Okay, and so when he comes up, I know they told me I'm kin to him, so I don't know how I'm kin to him. I don't know this man. But if I click on view my relationship, he's the husband of my 9th cousin 3 times removed. And then it shows me how that is. And interestingly enough, that's on my father's side, who is not the one that's from South Carolina. So just because, you know, these people on my daddy's side, they started out like in Connecticut and Pennsylvania, Ohio, then Iowa, then most of them joined the Mormon church, some of them didn't, but they kept moving west. My mother's family stayed right in South Carolina. But still, somehow we're related with this person out in the country in South Carolina. So that tells me how I'm related. Then I go back to him, and look, he's got, see the blue thing with the paper clip? That means he's got a record that that family search has found. So I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to see if I think this is my guy. All right. On the left is going to be what the record says. On the right is going to be what I have in the family tree, or what somebody has in the family tree. Okay, so if I think he's the right guy, yeah, I think it is, because Andrews, South Carolina is in Williamsburg County, same birthday. Think this is the guy. So I'm going to connect it, and then attach it. Okay, so see how easy that was. I was able to find him. I'm able to, sometimes it'll be a census record that will have children's names and spouses' names that I don't know about. So just from going to that cemetery record, it leads me to this. The other thing I always do when I look at a person's page, I'm gonna look at his parents. And I'm gonna click on his dad's name and be sure he doesn't have any blue pants. The purple drives me crazy. It's just like, okay, they had a 3-year gap. There might have been another baby born. Come on, people, leave it alone. Just let them be. But that's what the purple means. So his dad's good. His mom. See if she has anything. She doesn't, and I would do that for each one of the children. It's tedious. I understand this is tedious. But it's just what you need to do. You just got to dig down into it and get to know them a little bit and see what's there. She's got 29 sources, so somebody's really been working with her. A lot of times I'll go in the sources also, particularly 1900 and 1910. I want to show you what I'm talking about. If you go into this original document, and she's going to be a child, so we'll look at her mother. But this is not the best handwriting on this one. Okay, I think that's it right there. I think that's Altman. I don't really see it, Cassie, but what I'm trying to show you, what I want to show you on this 1910 census that I want you to pay attention to, it's going to show you if they're married. And if this is the first marriage, it'll have M1. See this column where it says M1? You see that right there? And he was 25 when he got married. See M1, and she was 25. And then you have children, because sometimes you'll say, oh my gosh, this child is 20 and the mom's 25. How's that possible? Well, usually that's going to be a second marriage. But that just can help you differentiate that. And it also, in South Carolina, at least, it's very hard to find a marriage record because they didn't start keeping them until 1911. The state didn't. So unless you find a church record, it's hard to find a marriage record. Family Bible or a church record. So you can go from this and say, okay, this is 1910 census. And you can figure out the math when they got married, an approximate date when they got married. Also, another thing it's telling me is she had 8 children. See that next column right here? She had 8 children, but only 6 of them are alive. So that makes me worry. Okay, where are those? Who am I missing with those children? If they died between censuses, we may not ever catch them. Sometimes they'll have them in the finder break. And I'll go back and show you what I mean by that in a minute. But you can get a lot of information from a census. If we scroll on over the page, censuses were usually taken in May. I'm not May, April. Okay, that tells where they were born, where their mother was born, where their father was born. Tells what language they speak, tells you he was a farmer, she was a farmer, and so forth and so on. And each census is a little bit different. I think it's 1930. Actually, one of the questions is you on a radio? Because the government wanted to know that, and how many people have a radio. So I'm going, which is kind of good to know. I taught U.S. history for a lot of years, and that was one of the things. You know, radio was a big social history thing because people started losing regional things because all of a sudden everybody was listening to the same radio shows and I don't know. It was a big deal. But the government did want to know that. So you just want to kind of find out as much as you can about this person. And if we actually go to his grave, oh, it's not, his tombstone's not on here. Let's somebody that's got a tombstone on here. Let's see if she does. So I do want to show you what that looks like. If you see in your your sources, they always come up in chronological order unless it doesn't get transferred over from the source. But see right here, her find a grade, we're gonna look at that. And she died in 1930, so I'm gonna come here and edit this. And I'm gonna put 1930, because I want that to be in chronological order. I don't want to be looking for her in the 1950 census. So that's gonna flip it back up to that. But when you go to the find a grade, then you can say, I want to see the original document. And it's gonna say, okay, you're leaving family search. Are you good with that? Yeah, we're good with that. Find a grave is a safe site. Okay, so it takes a picture of the grave. We had a couple that lived in the town I'm from, and they had just moved there from Pennsylvania. They were probably in their 40s. They had no children. They had dogs, and this was in the early 2000s. And I've never heard of Find a Grave till they came in, and they just loved it. And they went all over our county taking pictures. And that Brad can tell you, he's been with me to those cemeteries out in the swamp, and you are eaten alive by mosquitoes, and you come home with ticks. So I was just amazed that they did that. That was their hobby. They loved doing it. But that's going to tell you a little bit about it. See how it's even going to give a little obituary of her. So I'm going to copy that obituary if I can do it. Oh, come on. I'm not the best computer person. Thank goodness they finally made you had to use computers in schools, or I'd never used it. So I'm gonna go back to her details page, and I'm gonna add this up here and her little life history and save it. Okay, so let's go back to that. So that we got that from this. Now look, it's gonna tell all of her children, and sometimes you'll find out the children that died in between the census records that were there. You don't know their names or anything like that. I don't think any of those are going to apply with her. Oh no, this one's a baby. And this is even better because it tells you it's a daughter. Family search will not let you process anything if you don't in a temple if you don't have a sex. It has to be girl or boy. You gotta have it. If you don't have it, you just out of luck. So I would have guessed that was going to be a boy, because I wouldn't see the initials, but it's not. So good thing I didn't guess. If you want to look at the picture, you can click on that. And then if you click view original, it'll make it a little bit bigger. That's really a hard one to read.
I've looked at those and I can't read those.
Sometimes they're very hard to read.
No, they're just
Sometimes.
or something.
Yeah, sometimes they're very hard to read. Some of them have weathered so badly that you just can't read it. But some of them are good. And then, like I say, if they put the obituary on, this one also looks like it's got the death certificate. And so that's a really good thing because it puts the parents' names. David Allen was her father, and her mother was Frances Allen, which I'm guessing it really isn't supposed to be Allen. They were supposed to put a maiden name, but they didn't. Okay, she died of encephalitis. She also had pellagra, which was common in the South, unfortunately. But that gives us a good bit of information. Tells us she was married. A lot of times, if you look at the informant, it'll be somebody in her family. Not always, but sometimes. But you see how you can just kind of just get a little bit of information out of things that you didn't really realize you had. So you want to look at everything. And I know that takes a long time. And sometimes you find nothing, and sometimes you strike gold. So does that sound like something you'd like to do? Okay, now I can tell you in Caddo County, I think a lot of the cemeteries have been indexed and put into family search, because that was a project at the center. But you still can go in, because that had been done with these too. They're in family search, but there's still stuff we could add to it, and can give you clues for where to look and where to go and that sort of thing. Okay, remember how we got there? Let's go back to that. We come up here to the top. If you click on that green family search, that always takes you back to the opening page. Okay. And then, we went up to search. And then we went to cemeteries. One other thing I'll show you just real quick is this research wiki. Has anybody in here used the research wiki? Show me your hand. Yeah. I find this helpful with my French stuff, and I'll show you why. You just put in where you want to look, and you can put in a state, you can put in a country, you can put in whatever you're going to do, but this is going to give me a map of France. It's going to tell me all kinds of things about France. The departments, who's in the departments. It's going to give me ideas of how to look. I don't know if you used to go to family history centers back in the day. I majored in genealogy at BYU also. I've been doing this a long time, but they didn't have computers. That was a really long time ago. But when you used to go to family history libraries, they would publish a little booklet about France or about South Carolina or about Idaho, and it would give you ideas of what to do and how to look. And this is that same basic thing, except now you don't have to buy a little booklet. Now you can just go on here. So if you scroll up, you can see that it's going to give you some things over here too. And it's going to be one thing that says getting started. How do I even get started in France? And if you go through that step by step, it's going to help you. It's going to help you figure out some good strategies to use. What's online, what's not online. And if something's going to cost money, it'll have a dollar sign by it. A lot of things are free though, so you don't have to worry about it. The thing that I use a lot, if I can find my link, is languages. Okay, and they're going to talk about French word list. And I have printed this whole thing out. There's a short one and there's a long one. You can get it in a PDF file, but I printed it out because I refer to it enough that it helps me. So say, it's going to just tell you baptism is this, burial is this, mother's this, father's that. It also will have a Latin word list because a lot of the Catholic records are going to be in Latin as opposed to French. And then in certain parts of French, you're going to have Swiss or German. So the word lists are real helpful. So you write down Mexico instead of France with it. Do I write down if I put Mexico instead of France? Yeah. Do Mexico? I can do that. And it'll do the same thing. And I know you can use Google Translate and all that kind of stuff too, but it's easier. And the thing that's hard as well is the handwriting. I mean, well, that's true not of any country, because it's all going to be in cursive. Okay, so I'm going to say Mexico genealogy. And then it's going to take me to Mexico, and then you can narrow it down by the region of Mexico you want to be in. And you can narrow it down like, okay, I want to see what kind of census records are in Mexico. And it'll give you a whole thing to read about census records and where they are and how you can find them. Looks like 1930 is a good year for a census record in Mexico. But then you would just go through that and do the same thing. I think this is interesting. Chinese people in Mexico. I never thought about that. I didn't realize that was a thing. Okay, here's the Spanish word list. And it's going to tell you, you know, if you should use accent marks and the different variations in spelling. And it's going to give you a short list. It's going to give you numbers, days of the week. And then you can do a really longer list. You can just keep going down and looking at that. But I find that very helpful. I took French in high school. I took French in college. That probably is an exaggeration. A few years ago, I told you that my mom's people came in 1690, and the English made them register because they were foreigners, and this was a British colony at that time. And so the mom's name, the dad's name, they had 2 children, and they had to say where their village was that they left in France. And then they had come to South Carolina via Dublin. They'd gone and lived in Dublin, Ireland for a little bit. and then they'd come to France, but they had to leave France really quick because it was really brutal, nasty, nothing that we could understand. And so they either had to join the Catholic Church or be in a whole lot of trouble. And so they left, but they had to sneak and leave, and it was really hard stuff. Well, the name of the village was spelled incorrectly because it was a British person writing the list. So I searched for that town. I'd call the French embassy in Washington. I mean, I did all this stuff because this was way before the internet. And I just couldn't figure it out. And finally, on a trip to Salt Lake, they had language or country specialist in Salt Lake. And I went to the French specialist and she looked at it and she goes, "Oh, this is misspelled. Spell it like this." Well, then boom, it all came together. It was just like amazing. Wow. And only I'd known. And so when we had our 40th anniversary, our children, we have 6 children, they were like, "Y'all are so pitiful. Y'all have had no fun," because we got married pretty young. And we were pretty poor. I mean, we weren't poor, but we were sending children to college and all that stuff. And so they said, "We're sending y'all to Europe for a trip. You've never done anything like this." So it was amazing. We went to Paris and we went to London, and the girl I'd gone to high school with was a travel agent. They got Donna to do all this stuff. So I called Donna and I said, "We want to go to Sèvres, France." She called me back in a little bit and she goes, "Are you making this crap up?" And she said, "I can't find it anywhere." And I said, "Well, it's close to New York." And I told her the department and all that. And she finally found it. So we went on a train from Paris to New York, and then we rented a car, a little tiny car. And it was beautiful, so pretty. And we went driving and we got right to it. And I just am not an emotional person. Typically, I just start crying. It just, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. All these farms, and it was just beautiful. And it was canola season, which I didn't even know where canola oil came from, but the fields were just yellow with canola flowers. And but it was a week after Easter, so everything was closed. Everywhere we went was closed. I mean, there wasn't even a store open. It was just like, and it was tiny. I mean, it wasn't a town, it was a village. And so we're driving around, and there's this lady working in her yard. And Brad stops the car and he goes, "Go talk to her." And I said, "I can't do it." I said, I can't speak French. I can't do it. And he goes, "I'm not moving till you get out of this car." So we got a fight right there. So I finally got out and I had a little index card. Stuff on it. I could try to say it right. And so anyway, she pretended like she didn't speak English. It turned out she worked at the Chamber of Commerce. And it was just there visiting her mother. So she was from a big city and she could speak English, but she let me stumble along for a little bit. And Broussard was one of the names I was looking for, and that was her last name. How amazing was that? We couldn't make a connection, but anyway, she goes, "Well, let me show you my mother's family," which was not Broussard. Her father was Broussard. She goes, "The Huguenots couldn't be buried in cemeteries because they were heretics, so you had to bury them in your yard." So they had this beautiful cemetery enclosed in hedges. Anyway, she ended up doing research for me because she just got interested in it. And I would just get these packets in the mail from Danielle. I would never, if we'd stayed in France for 2 years, I would never have found what she found. Because she could read it, and then she would translate it for me, and she would mail it to me. So that was like, I really literally had worked on that line since I was in high school. So I'd worked on it for close to 50 years. And so sometimes things are hard, but then they fall in your lap. So anyway, I don't know how I got on that story. I was thinking French. My French is bad, but go to that Mexico page because it'll give you a lot of ideas. It will. And see, all over here on this side, it'll give you Spanish handwriting, deciphering Spanish handwriting. On the English ones, y'all, they will give you the old English handwriting, which is very hard to do. It'll give you specific records. Where do you find civil registration records? And it'll tell you how to look for those. And so just get acquainted with the wiki. That has been very helpful to me personally. Brad and I went on a mission, one to Salt Lake, which was fun. And then we got called to another family history mission, which was also the same mission, but it was in Oakland, California. And when we went to the MTC, they were like, "If you're not out of your comfort zone when you're on your mission, you're not having a good mission." And I looked at Brad and I said, "Whoa, I think they're talking about us." And we got there and the mission president called us in and assigned us to the Chinese branch. So we were out of our comfort zone. Believe you me. They were super nice and we had a really good. It was funny. One other thing, y'all, and I'm just gonna do, and I wasn't gonna do this, but these books, Family Search is digitizing books all over the place. And let's see if I
How
can,
did you get there?
okay, you just still go to search
Okay.
and then you come down to books. Okay, and then I'm gonna type in Washington, Utah. This is my dad's side of the family. Did I spell it right? I can get real. Okay, and I'm gonna say, I wanna do, I wanna make it a harder search than that, and I'm gonna say, Ann Cooper. Okay. John Cooper is my family, Jesse Cooper, that one is not, but there's all these books that have connections to my Coopers, and then they'll let you open the book and it'll let you read through it. And so if you've got, there's one book called, I think it's called Red Hills or something like that. If you've got people down in St. George area, it's got really good early history of that. And I knew this ancestor, William Darby Cooper, had joined the Mormon Church in Georgia shortly before the Civil War and moved to Salt Lake, and they sent him immediately down to Dixie like they did. And he had a mill, a grits mill, and something happened to it, and he went out in the middle of the night in the freezing cold and got pneumonia and died young. And I knew that part of the story, but in this book, it talked about how he was a really good fiddler, and he even made violins, and he was at all the dances. And he had made his wife of some kind of loom to do rugs on. And so when he died, she was able to support her family doing those rugs. And I didn't know that from just reading the census record. So check the book sometimes, but be specific. Yeah, they don't, you have full permission to go on these. You don't have any copyright stuff. So, yeah. So they're just ones that have been digitized. And I didn't put Utah, did I, my searcher, did I? Anyway. But you've just got to play around and see what's here. It's just a lot of stuff here. All right. Other thing I want to show you is Goldie May. Does anybody in here use Goldie May? Do you know about Goldie May?
And you don't want to see it.
Okay, Goldie May can do all kind of stuff. And I'll tell you right now, all that stuff is over my head, but the one part of it, I get. And these are these people at BYU, these professors who started using Family Search census records to their economics professors. They aren't genealogy, anything to do with genealogy, but they wanted the data to generate data from the census records and stuff. So they came up with all these algorithms and things they could do. And it's turned out to be a huge boost for Family Search. So I don't think it's on this machine. I'm sure it's not. So I'll show you how to get to it. It's real simple. I'm just going to type in Goldie May. That was his grandmother's name. And you can look at YouTube. He's got some tutorials on it. And like I say, there's a paid version of it, which you can use at Family History Center, or there's a free version, and we're just going to do the free version. So it comes up like this, and I'm going to say install for free. And it's going to come to the computer. Okay. I'm going to add it. The add extension, you've got to be using Google for this to work because it's a Chrome extension. It's a Google Chrome extension. I don't know what that even means, but I just know that's what it is, and you can't get it on your telephone. So
if you have a Apple computer, can you still?
Yeah, as long as you're in Google, you've got to have Google for your search engine. Oh, it's going really slow. This is the guy right here that developed it. See, he's really young looking to me. I wonder if I refresh the page, if it come faster. I was gonna come in early and put it on the computer, but then I thought, no, they should see how to do it. And it's so simple. If your internet lets you. Goldie May has been added. Okay, good. All right, so see, that little like puzzle piece up here. You see that one where I'm toggling? Looks like a puzzle piece to me. Those are extensions that are on this computer. And so any extensions are going to come up, and Goldie May is one of them. Okay, so here's Goldie May. I'm going to drag it over from this other screen. And then I'm going to go back to my family search. Okay, come on, I know this will do. Turn into a little arrow so I can drag you down. Anyway, I'm going to sign in with family search, and because I'm signed in with family search, it's going to go there. This research log that he's showing you at the top, that's the one that costs money, and it will keep track of everything you do. It's way over my head, totally over my head. Okay, now I need this to be smaller than this. Where's Cameron when I need him? Anyway, what I'm going to do is go down to volunteer. We might have to just use it. And I'm going to click on volunteering. And he's got a little video you can look at right here on this that you can look at. And if you have questions, if you email him, he will answer you back. He's really good about that. But what this is going to do is you're going to put in a location. And you can put in a county and a state, you can put in a state. I think it just says the United States right now. I think what it's mostly looking at is census records and social security records, social security death records. And it's just real simple to use, and you don't have to really think when you're doing it very hard, because the computer really will do the work for you. I'm going to be so disappointed if it doesn't let us in it.
How old is that software?
Probably 2 or 3 years, not real long. It hadn't been out a long time. But what it'll do is it's gonna show it's gonna show people. And then you say, well, I don't want to put other people on the family tree. I just want to put my people on the family tree. But we want to build a family tree. This is a world tree, right? It's the beauty of it, and it's the downfall of it. The beauty of it is if I have a cousin living in Ethiopia and she has a picture of my grandmother I don't have, she can put it in, so now I have it. It's going to be on my computer. The downside of it is you get crazy people who mess up your tree sometimes. And you just have to send them a sweet note and say, I don't quite understand what you're doing here. Can you help me understand it? Brad has a guy named Piano Player. That's what his handle is on Family Search. And whenever I hear Brad yelling at the computer, I know it's Piano Player. But he eventually straightens it out, doesn't he, Brad? If a person ever is just malicious and is messing your tree up, you contact Salt Lake and they'll block. Okay, they can't do that. Well, that was not a good. I'm so sorry. But what this will do, even when it's randomly searching, if somebody's your cousin, it'll tell you this is your cousin. I'll say this is your 5th cousin, and then you'll go to that person's page and check and see if there's anything you can add to them, if there's any duplicates you need to get rid of, or anything like that. And so it's really fast. You really don't have to do any attaching. You just say attach, and it attaches it. If you doesn't make sense to you, you say skip, and it goes to the next one. Oh, so sad. I'm gonna try refreshing one more time. Okay, well, so much for that. It was a good thing. I wonder if we could hear the video if we played it. So I just want you to see how it looks. No, we don't want to watch the Super Bowl. Okay, where's volume on here? Hmm. I think they've got it blocked, so I can't get into volume. I don't blame them, I would too. But see, now, if you, we're gonna watch it silently for a minute and let's see if it's gonna do what I think it's gonna do. Let me get rid of this on the side. I think he's gonna show us. I hope. Pretend like we're in a silent movie. No, it's not gonna work. Okay. Other things that you can do just to help the tree grow is do opportunities. Look at that for a minute. Indexing is pretty much died because they're using artificial intelligence all the time, which I keep wanting to call it A1 instead of AI. So I'm trying to just say artificial intelligence. Okay, so this is just telling me how we can get involved. And a full name review or a quick name review. Let's look at that. Now, if this doesn't come out, I'm going to get really sad. What this is doing is this is showing you, this is a document and AI read it and AI thinks it's Isaac. So if you agree that that's Isaac, you say, yeah, that's a match. Okay, do you think that's Myers? I think so. Yeah, that's a match. Okay, think that's Samuel? Yep, that's a match. Foster, yep, that's a match. If you don't think it is, you can say it's not. Say, yep, that's a match. Yep. 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 And then if you think they've spelled it incorrectly, or you think you can edit it, you can change the spelling a little bit, or you can say, I'm just not sure. You can say, I'm unsure. Or you can say, this isn't a person. Why are you even doing this? You're just supposed to be doing people names. Is this Israel Adams? Correct. So see, you can just sit and kind of do this. Is this a period? It's not a person. Okay. Solomon. And you can just sit while you're watching TV and have your little laptop in your lap and just kind of be doing this. 10 minutes, thank you.
It'd be fun to know documents, but they don't change the time.
Maybe
Just
later.
kidding.
I don't think they do, but I'll show you this just because I messed up with, we got messed up with Goldie May. I'm gonna go back to this. Okay, see where it says Family Search Labs right on your home screen? They just do experiments here. Usually they'll keep them, but they don't always keep them. So you always want to check them out and see what they're working on. Okay, and so this is the AI, not the A1. We can go to that. And, oh, I didn't mean to go to that one. I wanted to do full text search. This is also using AI. Okay, and I want to look for the name Gary, and I want it to be in South Carolina. And I want it to search. Okay, so it's going to bring up all these, it's usually land records or deeds, or a lot of the slave schedules will be in here where they would list the slaves as property. And so in their inventories for their wills, the African-American research has been helped a lot by this. So if I say, well, how many did they find? Well, they found 3,472. I don't think I want to do that much. So I'm going to say, I want it to be between in the 1800s. And then I really want it to be in 1830 and then apply. And so then it's going to come up with that many. And then I can even say, I want this kind of collection. I want enslaved records, I want wills and deeds,
And well, let's just do, well, we'll do slave records and see what happens. Okay. And so they're gonna show me the record. And in this, they will tell you what it's a full transcript from. You see up here, you've got your thing. You can attach it to the tree. You can ask for a citation. It'll show you exactly how it should be cited. It'll give you the proper citation. So it shows you, you can read it, or they're gonna come over here and type it up for you. Okay, so that, I found one guy that I've been looking for. I thought I knew who his parents were, but I found a will and that conclusively pulled it. And then you know how to make it bigger like that. And so. There. So that's something you can play with on that. And it's pretty fun. And then if you like, you can attach it to a tree and they'll ask you what person you want to attach it to. Or you can just add it to a source box. Do y'all know about the source box? Okay, let me go. I'm going way off script here, but I got to teach y'all something as long as we're here together, right? I don't want to just leave you hanging. Okay, if I wanted to add a source for Sarah Frances Allen, I can say add source, and I can add a new source. I can add a memory source, which is when I put in like a picture or something like that. That's a picture of a will or something, or I can attach from the source box. Now, I'm not going to have anything that really applies to her. These are people I've most recently attached in my tree. But let's just say that she was in the same census record as Lottie. I can just click on that and say attach, and then it's going to attach it to Sarah too. So instead of going through and attaching it to all the children, you can just go to the box and say attach it to her, attach it to her, attach it to her. So if you find a will or obituary, anything like that. So that's what the source box is. You can make folders for them, and I've been real bad about doing that. And I have way too many in there right now. I need to get rid of some. But that's what the source box is. And it just helps you. For example, if you have a book that mentions 20 people, you don't want to have to keep going back and putting all that book information in every time. You can just go back to the source box and do that. Okay, the other thing on your tree that will help you is you can come here for hints and record hints, and you can say, show me all the record hints that I have on my page right now. And it's going to show me all the people that have record hints. And I can see what my relationship with them is, and I can see what the record is. It's going to be a find a grave for William Henry Didsbury. I'm going to go to that. I love find a grave. It gives me information sometimes. He is not closely related to me at all, but he is related. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come up. So I'm going to attach it to the tree. Is it time, Jamie? Almost? Yeah. Okay. So what's on the right side is what's in the family tree. What's on the left is from his find a grave. And so the birth dates match up, death dates match up, burial I didn't have, so I'll click it, add it over. And then I can say verifies information, or you can say whatever you want to say, or you can leave it blank. And then I'm going to attach it. And then if I want to see it, I say view image, and it's going to come up. And we'll see, he's got a wife there. In case she's not there, I can come back and get her information. Are there any more Didsburys in this particular cemetery? I can click on that, and anybody with the last name of Didsbury is going to come up. The last thing I want to show you before I'm going to let you go is obituaries, and I didn't even get into that, but I check. This is weird. I'm a little bit weird. I check obituaries for my hometown every day, every week. There's 2 funeral homes. I check them and I see who's dead. And I add them in. And they aren't related to me. So I go to recents and see at the very bottom, it says add an unconnected person. And then I put that person in with everything that's in their obituary. And either they'll say, oh, they're already in here,
or they'll let me add a new person, and then I'll build a tree for them. If I can, I mean, usually they'll tell you the parents' names and where they were born, and so you've got some good hints, you know, maybe I can find them in the 1950 census, and then that'll show me their parents' names and where the state they were born in and where they were born. And I get the tree back as far as I can get it, because my goal is to have my little county in South Carolina. I'll document. It'll never happen, but it gives me something to do. Right? So did you see, people don't realize that add is just at the bottom, you go up to recents. And at the very bottom is add an unconnected person. And you can even do that if you've got a real unusual last name. If your last name is, I don't know, Napier or something that's not Jones or Smith, and you say, gosh, they're in my town, this has got to be kin to me. I'm going to put them in the tree, and then that way I can come back and figure it out later. But you just add an unconnected person. The other thing too, you want to be sure on your people, if you want to follow somebody, you click that star up there that says follow. Then anytime anybody makes a change to them, they'll, okay, Brad's telling me to shut up. Anyway, and be sure you've got it in right, y'all. This one's not right. They should have written out the month. So I'm going to edit it. Click the space bar once. It'll bring it up like they want me to have it. And because the better your information is, the better the algorithm is for the computers to look for it. All right, thank you so much for coming. And I'm sorry that Goldie Mead didn't work, but try it at home. Because if you just look at Richard's little video, you'll understand it. It's not hard to use, and it's very easy to use and helpful. You'll find people on it, I bet. Any questions? Come to Family History Center. We're open Mondays from 12 to 4, Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 10 to 6, Thursdays from 10 to 8. Fridays and Saturdays are closed, Sunday from 2 to 6. Okay, we'd love for you to come. Okay. I would be so mad if Goldie May opens now. Look at that. I was jumping, I was crying. Now it opened. It just opened. It just opened perfectly.
So you'll have it for your next class.
Yeah.
All right, I'll meet you outside your door.
Okay.
You looked at me, you know what to say, and I was going like, oh, so. What you do if you read impacts on a name, you can't go beyond.
What's your time period?
Probably in the early 1800s.
And where is it?
Illinois.
Okay, you know, you can sign up on this with a conference for somebody in Salt Lake to talk with you for 30 or 45 minutes, and they might could give you pointers. But I would look at Wiki and be sure you've used all the things that they suggest you use for Illinois, like church records. You know what church they were in. I pray for Catholics because Baptist records are not very good. I have a lot of those. Catholics are the best in Episcopals. But anything before 1850, it becomes increasingly difficult because you can't really, I mean, the census starts in 1790, but it's just got the head of the household until 1850 when it lists everybody. But
I'm stuck there. I can't go back.
yeah, you might have to just go collaterally and just get cousins and cousins' children and stuff like that.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Y'all, Goldie May opens now, just try that, I can't believe
Oh,
that.
no.
But try it at home, you'll like it, try it, you'll like it.
I'm getting tired.
I know.
I'm sitting, you know. I'm here, we meet on Wednesday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be bad, but I'm sick of it for. Have you been here all day?
Yes.
Oh, you are longer.
And last night,
Yeah.
but I have some voices, so I have to make the most.
Okay, okay. Now, do you have a daughter here too? No?
Yes,
Cause I had a daughter, a young lady in my class last night from Caldwell.
yes,
I bet she's got.
that's what I got.
That's what, you came all the way here? Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of tradition
that's fun.
because, Rita and her daughter Shauna,
Uh-huh.
we talk family history like this almost 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
Yeah. No, it's a big deal. Yeah, but I got this little laptop that I remember, I'm just getting nervous, I don't know that laptop, but I'm. Just trying to help. I had to go to lunch for dinner. I don't know, you're a minute. Hey, come in. Reaper. Let's see what, okay, I just moved here 3 years ago, but I'm starting to know where things are. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was kind of running together. Yeah, because it's like, okay, now you're down, or now you're early. Yeah. Yeah. My son-in-law's in there, his grandma was in home, so we go up there kind of often, I really go down. Yeah, it's really pretty. Yeah. I work with family history on Mondays, so Steve and David and Dixon, everything. There's that. It'll be pretty simple today, but I'm just gonna show you things that help me get more names. It's not really complicated. Couple more minutes, 10 o'clock is fast. Oh, I was worried. They said you were like the movie. Do you want to? No. So interesting.
wasn't that awesome?
I just moved here 3 years ago, and so I knew about Kathleen's book, because she and I, went to second board together, I read the book, that was so
Yes.
powerful.
That was right behind us. My husband and his uncle and cousins, it actually impacted their farm and their ranch. They were out of Cottonwood and they diverted that way too. So I was going to nursing school at this time. So I wasn't impacted, but yeah, they didn't talk about family. But it was just really cool to watch it. And President Jarrett was my state president and an amazing man.
His son, is Stephen's son, I think he is.
Yes,
He's an
yes.
award, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, they have a lot of powerhouses there. I was telling him, I was like, my elder Jacob was 18 and had just graduated from high school. And that all happened, so, and yeah, I think his dad was still alive.
Yeah, that was amazing. The first summer we moved here, we did a historic home store. And that was super. Yeah. Yeah, we keep trying to learn about new things.
Well, and then
Good.
in 2017, when we had all of that, we were actually really concerned about flooding again. And our house is, we are right in the spillway, so,
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, you know, it wouldn't matter where you had it.
I guess this winter we don't have to worry about it.
No, I don't think this could be an issue here.
No, this would be bad for stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is, I have two names. My name is Faun Harrop on the schedule. That's my nickname that lots of people call me, but my real name is Faun. So they put Faun on here. My husband calls me Faun, so people in my ward call me Faun. And then when they come into family history, my name says Tukey. You can see him coming. I'm schizophrenic. No, not really. But anyway, our youngest daughter married a boy from Burley, and we always said that when we retired, if there was a town with grandchildren in the Temple, why we would move there. Should have added warm weather, but I didn't. So I'm doing it. I'm getting through it. Okay. All right. I just want to show you some quick things that I use to help me find people, because once you go back so far, it becomes increasingly difficult to go back any further. So it's easier to spread out and go collateral. And get cousins and second cousins and 15th cousins or whatever. Our goal is to build the tree. We want the tree to include everybody eventually. And that seems daunting, but at the rate we've gone in the last 20 years, I think anything's possible. I'm old. I was at BYU in the early 70s and majored in family history there. And there were not computers. And so I've watched the evolution of it. After I was there, I had 6 children and I taught school for 30 years. So I got away from it for a while, but then we did a couple of family history missions. So I love it. I'm pretty much addicted to it. My situation is easy in some ways because my mother was a convert, so nothing had been done. She had nobody doing family history from her family, so that was wonderful. Daddy was not a convert, and his tree is a big mess sometimes, but we work on it. My mother's family was French Huguenot. They came to South Carolina in 1690 is the earliest record I have of them being there. And they had left France, gone to Dublin, Ireland, then came to South Carolina. And I'm the first person that's left since 1690. And so I don't have to tell you, if I'm just looking in the same county over and over, that's a whole lot better than them, coming down the Cumberland Gap Trail or something. So the first place I want you to start, or that I start every day. Hi.
Never gonna get surveys to the end. But you may not be there. Maybe. What are you doing? Okay, thank you.
How you doing, Brother Hill?
You're welcome.
Okay, so the first thing I want us to look at is just look at your tree. Okay, and I have always had my tree as a fan chart because somehow my brain works better that way. And what I check every now and again, at least probably once a week, see over here where it says research helps. How you get to that is you go over here to this little thing that I call the belt buckle. And you can do different things. You can say, I want to see where everybody was born and all their birthplaces come up. Or you say, I want to see all the sources, and we want everybody to have sources. I want to see who's got stories, who's got photos, who has ordinances done, and then who has research help. Okay, right now there's not anybody except for this one purple one. And usually what the purple suggestion is
they went 3 years without having a baby. Are you sure there's not another child in that? It's not like a real hint. But you want to keep up with the hints because the hints are put on all the time. And the hints are put on based on the algorithm of your information in the computer. And so that's real important that you check. In early November, I have this guy here who's not, I'm really not that many French people, but he's my other French line, Jacques Alpoli. He was born in Lyon, France. He must have been an adventurous sort because France colonized Algeria. He moved to Algeria, and then from Algeria, he came to South Carolina. And so I had worked in the early years with microfilm and found his birth record. He was Catholic, which I love to have Catholics because they have such good records. And I thought I had found everything I was ever going to find on him. And at the beginning of November, he had a blue little thing telling me there's a record there. So I went to it, and it just led me. I probably added over 100 things to the tree just from following his hint to his father's hint to this person's hint and just going around like that. So keep checking the hints. They're getting on there all the time. They're missionaries that are called to just do, they go and take pictures of records. They're all over the world. And it's the only mission you don't have to dress up for. You can go in your brevies and just take, because you're in dusty old books and anyhow. And they're being added on all the time. The other thing I want to tell you about, two things, and we aren't going to spend a lot of time on them, but under search, there's the thing called a research wiki. Has anybody in here used a research wiki?
Research.
Wiki, W-I-K-I-E. Okay, you can do it by state or you can do it by country. I'm going to do it by France just to show you what I'm talking about. If you remember, if you did family history some years ago, they would have little booklets for sale in the libraries and you could buy them for like a quarter, but they would give you start here and then do this and then be sure to look at this. This is just like those booklets, only it's online. Anybody can contribute to the wiki, but it goes through Family Search and they have to approve it and stuff, but anybody that's knowledgeable can go into it. So if you look at this, if I didn't know a thing about France, it would show me a map, it would show me the departments, I could go down and go by the departments. And then over here on the side, it says, are you looking for businesses? Are you looking for cemeteries? Are you looking for census? What is it exactly you're looking for? And you'll click on that and they'll give you some links of suggestions to do. If the links are going to cost you money, it'll have a little dollar sign by it. They have language helps for all the countries that don't speak English. And with France, I think they have Latin, French, and German. Yeah, they have Latin, French, and German. Because depending on the part of France you are in, it could be German, and Latin is going to be in a lot of the church records. So if I click on the French word list, I use this all the time. I took French in high school and college, and I couldn't even carry on I can say parlez-vous. Anyhow, big long list. But if you go all the way to the end, it gives you can do it like a PDF and you can print it out. And I have it in a notebook so I can refer back to it all the time. But it's just got the French word and then the English word. Because when you're looking at their records, they're going to be in French. And it's in cursive. And so it's a little bit hard. So I use the list all the time. And they've got them for every country. So that's just a helpful thing to know that that's there. And we won't, it's a really good thing. Also under search is the card catalog at the Family History Library, which is good. Another thing that's good is its books. I'm going to say an advanced search. And I'm going to say, I want if I could spell, I'd be dangerous. I'm trying to do Washington, not Waskington. Okay, and I'm not. Okay, now, it didn't do what I said because it's giving me Washington, Kentucky right here, so I'm gonna have to go through and kind of sort through them some more or go and do the search again. But you can find books, and I'm just gonna show you a book because that's the point of this. The books are without copyright restrictions anymore, and you can go through literally and read the whole book. And some of them will have indexes, some of them will not. Okay, so that can be real helpful. I did find a grandfather, great-great-grandfather in this. And of course, I knew his information. He'd been a Mormon pioneer, had all that, but it tells some real stories about him. I never knew he was a musician. I didn't know he played the fiddle at the dances, and that my grandmother, he had built her room to do rugs on, and he had I knew he had a mill, but he died repairing it. But she was able to support the family because she could make these rugs. And so it had a lot of little stories in there I would never have known. So the books are fun to look at. Probably not as much for research as for stories, but it could be that they list a child or something you didn't know about. All right, under search, I want you to look at cemeteries. It's the very last thing. Have any of you used Find a Grave? Okay, so you know Find a Grave, and this is just going to bring up all the cemeteries that are on Find a Grave. And so I'm going to come in. Y'all are going to be sick of my locations. Berkeley County, South Carolina. Geographically, it's a fairly big county, but population-wise, it's not. And now I can just go into any of these cemeteries and list them in alphabetical order. And it'll open up the cemetery. This was one way out in the country. And it's telling me that 301 people found there are kin to me. Okay. I can tell, I only show my relatives. I mean, I made a mistake, not showing my relatives, it's 300 graves. Now I'm saying show my relatives. Well, 86 of them are my relatives. Okay, so if I'm looking at that, they're probably, I'm almost positive they're all in family tree. But if I want to go in there and look, I can go in here to Susan Dupree. I can find my relationship to her. I can look, she's got a record hint. I can put her record hint in. I can check her husband. Is his stuff in? He's got stuff. I can check their children. Okay, Grover Lee needs some temple work done. Let's see if his wife is old enough. Nope, she's not. That's why it's not done. Y'all all know the 110-year rule, right? Okay, the 110-year rule is you can do the temple work if they're related to you and they were born over 110 years ago. So if they were born on February the 6th, 1915, and they're your cousin, you can do their temple work. If they were born March the 6th, you can. You can on March the 7th, but you can't on March 6th. Okay. So that's the 110 rule.
So question about now, I have a couple of different animals with this like recently, and I had to submit their work like 2 or 3 times before they had no children.
Okay, yeah, you just have to kind of establish that. I had the same thing happen to me. I had an aunt that, because if somebody dies now, you only have to wait 30 days. And then, but they have to be your parent, your sibling, your spouse, or your child. And if they aren't, then you have to get permission from the sibling, spouse, parent, and child. And my aunt and uncle just died not too long ago, and my sister and I took care of them. And so it was all right. And they gave me permission, but it took me like 2 years.
Why do you wait? I mean, I just don't understand.
It's they have like a committee or something. I mean, it takes a while. I think it took almost a month for me to finally do that.
It took people.
It did.
Started working last year.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I submitted it and finally I put the deputy's name. And my sister's son,
Yeah.
and I don't know what changed it.
Oh, that is it. Yeah. You can just say, I got permission from her son. And give his name, and either phone number or email address. I have done that with
relatives too, and they never contacted the person. I don't know if they do sometimes, but yeah, if you give them the person, the only thing is, if you ask, like if you ask the son and he said no, then you can't ask anybody else. I'm gonna ask anybody. So, be careful with people sending back.
Now, my other question is,
Uh-huh.
when you send a letter, like, I have to send a letter to the first president so that I can get my mom.
Uh-huh.
How long is that?
That takes long.
That I, how long is long?
I would say at least 6 months.
Okay, I need to get on the stick.
Yeah.
Letter.
And maybe they'll surprise you, but that's pretty slow process.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I can just quickly look at this and say, okay, Grover's all done except for ceiling. She can't be done. Okay, Pauline, she's done. Julia. All right, I want to show you this, and y'all probably know this, but see how that's got a little like clock on top of the green? That means it's been shared with the temple. But the temple would like you to steal it if you're gonna go do the temple work. Because when you share it with the temple, I've got names that have been, I shared 5 years ago. So, so they'll say, oh, well, if you don't do it the next 120 years, go ahead and take it. So you could take it away. If it's got that little clock on it, or if it's green, either way. Either way. All right. So I just would go in and play with all those cemetery people. And I would go into each one. Obviously, if they're born in 1950, I'm not going to go to one because I know they aren't going to be ready. I could still go look at their parents, but I'd rather go to somebody who's a little bit older and just be sure that their stuff is good. Okay. Any questions on that? Also, when you get into the cemetery record, let me just show you this one for a sample. And I'm going to look at her sources. And the sources are in chronological order. I'm looking for Find a Grave, and I know it's here somewhere. Here she is. I just want to be sure, and I think a lot of you have used Find a Grave, but in case you haven't, if you click on that, it'll say, do you really want to go to Find a Grave? And you say, yep, I do. Okay, that is not her, that's her niece, so that picture is wrong. But anyway, it gives her information. It gives, all of them don't do this, but a lot of them do. It gives the name of her parents, the name of her husband, the name of her siblings, and the name of all her children. Now, see, I did not know she had an infant son. I wouldn't have known that because he would never have shown up in a census because he was born between censuses. So I always check their Find a Graves. And then it's got a little picture of her tombstone. And then I can say, well, is there anybody else in this cemetery? Her maiden name was Gary. She was my great aunt. Anybody else in the cemetery with that last name? And it'll bring them all up. Okay. So that's just, that helps sometimes. And sometimes you can't make the connection, but sometimes you can. And actually, I'm gonna go look right now. I don't know that I have that child on her. Yeah, I do. Okay, good. All right, so he is there. All right, so that's one little trick I use. The next thing I want to show you, and it would not work in the last class, but I think it's going to work now, is Goldie May. Has anybody used Goldie May? Goldie May. He named it after his grandmother. Okay, this is these BYU professors who are a lot smarter than I am. Started doing all these things with census records and social security records because they were economics professors and they were trying to aggregate data. They really weren't trying to do family history, but it's been a real boon with family historians. Okay, you can add it to your computer for free. It's a Chrome extension, a Google Chrome extension. I'll show you how you do it. I've already added it to this computer, so we can't add it again, but you'll just go up to Google and you'll say Goldie May, Goldie May, Do a Google search on that and it'll come up. And you'll click on it. Now, there's a paid version of this and there's a free version. I just use the free version. Yeah, to me, the paid version makes so much sense, but it's too hard for me to do. It will help you track everything you can use it to track your research. There's good YouTube videos on it, but I have not gotten proficient with that. And then you just say install for free and it's going to go to your computer. And that's all there is to it. So we're going to go into it and it's going to look, see how that little puzzle looks like a little puzzle piece to me? That'll be any extensions you have on this computer. So we're going to click on that. And the only extension on here is Goldie May. So we're going to click on Goldie May. All right. Now, let's see if I can be smart enough to pull this over. Make it small. This is a disadvantage of not having your own computer. Okay, anyway, I'm going to go to Goldie May and I'm going to scroll down. It's already logged on as me because when it first comes up, it'll say, can I log into your family search? And you'll say yes. And so it sees your family search on the computer, so it knows that these things, the research log, the subway map, those are paid. The one that's free is volunteering. And that's what we're going to go to. Oh dear, except I keep closing it. And he's given you instructions. He's also got a little video you can play that only takes about 3 minutes. And you can either search by surname or you can search by location. I've been working on South Carolina. That'd be a surprise. I started out with, I think it was like 85,000 records and now I'm down to 17,000. But I mean, I'm not the only person doing it. And I'm saying any record. What he's doing right now is Numident and US Census. And Numident, if you aren't familiar with that term, it's just when you applied for Social Security, you had to give your mom's maiden name, your dad's name, your name, birth date, and then they will provide the day. And so it's called a Numident record. I don't know why it's called that, and that's what it is. And the Numident records just got released. I think it's been about 2 years. I lose track of time. It's been fairly. And the reason I love the Numident records is because they give a maiden name. And sometimes those are hard to find. So I'm just going to click on that. Okay, so then what that's going to do is it's automatically going to look, it's going to go out the tree and start looking. And they're going to say, okay, I think this is a record you can put on the tree. And you'll look and you'll say, well, let's see if this matches or doesn't match. And yeah, Claude Evans, that looks right. Okay, what year was he born? He was born in 1909. He was born in 1909. It's South Carolina census. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think this is right. I think it's right. But I'm going to open this for a minute. Okay, here's this Susie Evans, is his mother. And so I'm going to drag her up there. Charles Driver, I'm not sure who he is. So I'm not going to do anything with him. Maud Evans, I think clearly is his sister. But I'm going to look at the census just to be sure. I'm going to be positive who these people are. I'm going to close this record out because I want to actually look at the census. Okay, so there's Susie. Who's the head? Was that right? Charles, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, Charles Driver. He's the father. And they have these people that are living with him are boarders. Okay, so Susie's the head of the family. Charles is a son. Charles is the father. See, Susie's the head. Charles, so big difference in age. And Claude is the son. And Marilyn is the daughter. These other people are boarders, so I don't want to put them in there. And so I'm going to say, Goldie May back, and I'm going to say attach the records. And then it'll just start attaching them for you. You don't have to do a thing, they're going to attach it. Okay, then I'm gonna say, okay, let's do the next one. Okay, Charles H9, Charles F9. Let's see who his father was. His father was Charles Howard Knight. His mother was Maud Knight. So those look to me like they match up. If I thought they didn't match, I can skip it. But those look to me like they match. The years are very close, 1895, 1895. If you want more details on them, you click that details. Says she was born in Williamsburg County, South Carolina. I think that's right. Okay. Then if I were at my computer at home, I wouldn't have to keep going back and forth because I could just attach this because I would make both things smaller and I'm not sure how to do it on this computer. So I'm just going to say attach and it's going to attach it. Okay, the only thing it will not attach is if a person was born in 1915 or later, unless there's a death date for them. Then it'll attach it. But if it's no death date for them, they're not going to attach that because they want that 110-year rule. We really need this to go down. And it's just going to keep looking for you. And it's not showing me now because I've got it so. But it will tell me in this down part right here, if I had it open like I want to, if this was my cousin, they would tell me this is your cousin. And so then I could get off and look at that. Okay, Maxine McCombs and Maxine Carter, but she was married to McCombs. And then his name was Alfred Leroy, and this is AL, same birth years. And then children, if I open that, let's see if these children match up. Naomi does. But I don't know about Corinne. Maybe Lorraine and Corinne, I think maybe they just did census taker did it wrong because it's the right birth year, but it's Corinne down here and Lorraine up here. I think that's the same. And then Guy McCombs is not on here. And this is the 1920 census. He was born in 1911, so he wouldn't have been on the 1910 census. So I'm going to pull him up. And then I'm going to pull up Goldie May, which again, if you were home, you wouldn't have to pull, you'd have it already up. And it's just going to attach it. It's going to add him. It's going to do all the work for you. It's very mindless once you start doing it. I do it a lot of times at night when I'm watching TV or when my husband's watching TV. Okay, see, there was an error with that, so it'll tell you that. Okay, if for some reason I just think this is not right, I can say skip it. I don't think that's right. I can't figure this one out. Or sometimes they'll say this is a duplicate, and you'll say I don't want to do a duplicate. I think this one is right. No, I don't know because it's John and Andrew. So I'm going to skip it. I'm just going to skip that one. Somebody else can do it. Okay, John, Jesse. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm Goldie May. I'm saying attach. So it just saves you a lot of time. And then let's just pretend that John is my cousin. I would just click there on view John. And I'm going to look at him. And I'm going to see, he must be related because it's green. He's the husband of my 12th cousin 3 times removed. I would never, y'all, have found that if I were just looking at a family tree. But his work, somebody is sharing his work, but I could go in and take it if I want to go to the temple tomorrow and I'm a man. I could take it and go. Let's see about his wife, Jessie. Yep. Sarah, her work is not, I mean, she's ready, but she was born in 1917, so we can't do her. So let's look and see. There's no parents on here for him. So how did they even know he was related to me? Oh, maybe it was Jessie that was related to me. So go to Jessie. Let's see for her parents. Okay, her dad's done. Her mom's done. Her sister Ruby is incomplete. Oh, I see. She died as a child. So that's why she's like that, but I don't know why she hasn't been sealed to her parents. Okay, let's do the find, see how the source came up, this blue thing? Blue thing with the paper clip is the source. They're saying, hey, we gotta find a grave on Ruby. Let's see, 1898, 1898, I think this is it. Okay. Now, I want to go and look at that find a grave. I want to see if it gives me any additional information. Okay, the parents are who her parents are supposed to be. It tells me where she's buried, Four Holes Baptist Church Cemetery. Okay, it's got the county, but it doesn't have, oh, I'm the one that put it in. Four Holes is swamp. And see how the computer found it for me right there. So then I'll click on. Okay, so that child's there. Now let's see why the ordinance is green now. So I can request for her to be sealed to her parents. I'm gonna request it. And I'm gonna share it with the temple. I'm having a new knee on Wednesday. I don't know when I'll get back to the temple. I gotta pace myself. So then we go back to her detail page. And I'm not sure which parent we're kin through, so let's look and see on Frederick. Or what I could do, which would probably be even easier, is go to Jessie, because we know said we were kin to her. And I can just say, let me see Jessie's tree. And okay, well, show me the ordinances on Jessie's tree. Does anybody need temple work on Jessie's tree? The green ones need temple work. The yellow ones don't have enough information. The blue one has been shared with the temple. Okay, these down here, we know that Sarah can't be done because she's not old enough yet. Frederick, I think it's going to say, yeah, see how it's got the little clock on it? It's been shared, but if we want to go take it, we can. Same thing for his wife. There's her parents. They are not sealed to each other, I don't think. So let's go to. Is this making sense, y'all? Okay, so now I'm going to go to her ordinances. And I'm going to say, okay, everything's been done except she hasn't been sealed to her husband. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to share it with the temple. All right. And she's got a hint. And it's Sally's death certificate. And look how they've spelled her name weird on the death certificate. But remember, a death certificate is only as good as a person given the information, or as good as a clerk writing the information. So here's Sarah. And it's telling me when she was born, when she died, her ethnicity, she was married, she was domestic, she stayed home. And then that. And then this is a little bit confusing, but watch the screen real carefully and I'll show you. We were looking for Jessie, so Jessie comes out as our main person. I want to change Sally to be my main person, so I'm going to say change person to Sally. And now her husband came up to her, and now I can attach Fred. Okay, so that was real easy. We just looked at her tree to see what was missing. So it's just, you just are being a detective. You're just looking at every little thing you can think of to look at. Another thing you want to do on Find a Grave, you always want to go to their Find a Grave to see if there are any babies that were born between census records. That's real important to do. Because otherwise you probably aren't going to find them unless it's a church record. All right. The other thing I do, and this sounds really like I'm a stalker, And I kind of am a little bit. Okay, I'm from a town called Moncks Corner, South Carolina. And there's 2 funeral homes. And the biggest one is Dal Murray. Dal Murray Funeral Home. I want to see who their recent obituaries are. And I can tell you right now, I put all these in, but I have not put in Harry Dennis. I have not put him in. So I'm gonna click on Harry Dennis. And his obituary is going to come up. And you're going to say, you don't know if you're kin to Harry Dennis. No, I do not. So I'm going to come back to my tab where I was with Jesse, and I'm going to say recents. And I'm going to say add an unconnected person. I don't know if he's related to me. I'm going to put him in. He is great. If he's not, he'll be in the tree. I'm helping the tree grow. Or maybe I find the name Gary in Berkeley County. I know I'm related to him. I'd put him in, but I'd have to say I don't know how I'm related to him. And then eventually it's going to show up. Okay, so we're going to go back to the obituary. Oh, let's see if I can split the screen. Oh, wow. This man, I just don't have good enough vision to see the whole screen, but never mind. That was a bad idea. But I'm going to take, first of all, I'm going to copy Harry's obituary. Okay, so I got that copy. All right, but now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say Harry Albert Dennis Sr. That's his name. And that's my biggest thing is having to remember Harry. A lot of times at home, I will put the obituary on my phone and so I can just look down at it. He's a male. He's deceased. He was born 19 August 1932. Okay, another trick with this, if you don't want to take the time to write it all out, if you do it like that and your cursor's there and then you hit the space bar, it's going to bring it up like they want it to be. And he was born in Moncks Corner. See, and it pops up because there's only one Moncks Corner. And then his death date is 7th of February, 2025. And I could even do 2/7/2025. And it's gonna, oh, I just did it backwards. 7-2 2025. And then hit the space bar. I don't want it to be July. How's that? I don't know. I better write it out. Okay. And let's see where he died. In Charleston. Charleston's the biggest city, so he must have been in a hospital. And sometimes they don't say where they don't say if it's at home or at the hospital. So I would just put the state then if I wasn't sure. So I don't have to write it quite all the way out because the computer's going to sense it. Okay, here he is. He's not in here, so I'm going to create a person. And then I'm going to say add a brief life history, and I'm going to put his obituary there. So in 20 years, when I say, oh gosh, I know he had children, I'm not going to put the children in now because they're alive. I can come back and read the obituary and look for them. Okay, now the obituary also has the names of his parents, I'm sure. Richard Chapman Dennis and Leslie Brinson Dennis. All right. So let's just try finding him in a census. Over here on the right are all the places you can search. Y'all, if you don't have your free accounts for Ancestry, Find My Past, My Heritage, Jenny Annette, Belay, you need to get them. But I'm just going to do family search. And I'm going to say, I want you to find me census records. I'm going to go to type and say census. Okay, with census records, they also will give public records. Like, I don't even know who does that, but somebody does it. Okay, here, remember his mom's name was Leslie and his dad's name was Richard. So that's him. I'm going to click on that. Let me go back and show you that again. Okay, I'm gonna click on the paper that looks like a little piece of paper. If I wanted to see what it looked like, I click on the camera. If it's got this little thing next to it, it reminds me of when we diagram sentences, that means it's already attached to somebody else. But this one's not, so I'm gonna click on the paper. I'm gonna say attach this to this tree. And now look, it's telling me, well, Richard Dennis is already, this is already attached to Richard Chaplin Dennis. So I'm gonna click on that number and see his number comes up. I'm gonna click once, it's gonna copy it. So now I'm gonna go back to Harry. And I'm gonna say add a parent by number. Click on it. And now and it's saying, is this the right one who is married to Leslie Brinson? Yeah, that's who I want. Select the couple. So his parents are in, and then once the parents come in, it generates the rest of it. Okay. Now, just for kicks and giggles, I think I might be related because Brinson is on my tree, but I'm not sure because I don't really know this guy. Oops. Be a relationship. He's my fourth cousin. So let's be sure his family's work is done. Dad's is done, mom's is done. And brothers are too young. Okay, but I can go to Leslie, click on her, instead of doing person page, let's go to her tree. And let's see who needs work done. All these people do, but they're too young. This person needs more information. He needs more information. He needs more information. Navy blues have already been shared. Somebody's done them. This green person, everything's done except sealed to spouse, and that I could take. Let's just look at Nancy Barnes for a minute. And she's a hard one. We don't know her parents. Okay, she was a bad one to pick. She's not sealed to parents because we don't know who they are. I've worked on her a lot. Let's see this one. Okay, sealed to spouse. Let's go in and see what's the problem with his sealed to spouse. Okay, he had two spouses, and one of them is just listed in there as Tabitha. Now, it wouldn't be a problem if it were just Tabitha, we can do that, but she doesn't have birthday, birthplace, anything. So that's why that one can't happen. So if I really felt strongly about that, I would sit and try to do some research on her. I don't feel really strongly about it, but I am going to just look real quick. Because remember, her tree just showed her parents and her grandparents. How about her siblings? Yep. Yep. That one never married because he died young. Yep. Yeah. Well, yep. Yep. No, the one that died young. Dang, he should have had a lot of wives. Okay, so you get it. Thank you. So do you get an idea of how I'm doing with the obituaries? That was a lucky one that I turned out the end related to him.
So can you go back and why would you follow your source and see
Which one?
the obituary?
The guy I just put in because he was just put in. He was just put in today. And so he's not going to have, well, I can look and see. He is going to have one now because he's in the 1950 census. But the person should not have any sources if they're just getting in the tree. You see what I'm saying? Here he's in the 1950 census because they're telling me, look, you just put him in 40, let's put him in 50. So here's Richard, his dad. And if I were feeling real lazy, I could pull Goldie May up and let her do the clicking, but I kind of like clicking sometimes. There's Leslie. And there's Harry. Okay, and see how they've got this. They've got them as a married couple and then him as a child because he's the main person we're looking at. And so these people down here are his siblings. If his parents were the main people, they'd show up as children as well. Okay, so there's his brother.
And that was according to the 1950.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yes. And everything on the left is from the census. Everything on the right is what has been put into the census. I mean, it's just family search. That didn't make a lick of sense. Okay, Hilda's still alive. Daniel is dead. And Catherine is still alive. And I'm guessing that Thomas would have moved out of the house by the 1950 census because he would have been 21. All right, so there. So now he's gonna have two sources, and I don't know why they aren't. Let's refresh the page. And yeah, you always want them to have at least two sources. Well, it didn't, why didn't it take it? Did I quit on that one and not attach it? You want everything to have two sources. Otherwise, genealogy without sources is mythology. Even if Aunt Margaret said it were true. Okay, and sometimes it will show up the obituary. If the obituaries are quick to get out, sometimes that will show up as a thing. So yeah, see now he's got a source. If I had some problem with this, I could add a note and say, listen, I don't know. I don't think he went by Harry. I think he went by something else. You could add an alternate name if he went by Bubba. You can add a fact about him if you knew what his probably said in the obituary what his occupation was. You could add that in. Just things like that. It also is going to have his wife up here in the I think she's still alive, which is kind of incredible because he's 92. I'm trying to see if it lists a wife. I'm sure he's married because he has children, but I'm trying to see if they list the wife. Preceded him death by his brothers.
They make note of like common law and stuff that they just
Okay.
list.
The way you do it is, let me go to somebody who's married. Okay, here's his mom and dad, and you're going to put in their marriage events, and it's not in here, but we could go to the 1910 census and get a good idea of when they're married. But you can say the event, add event, and then you either say marriage, they'll let you say, well, that drop down arrow, see, it'll say annulment, marriage, divorce, common law. It'll give you choices to do, just like if we did with the children. I want to save that. With the children, it'll let you pick if they're a stepchild or, okay, if I go to, computer's getting squirrely. Anyway, when you do that pencil, it'll let you identify the relationship. You can have them sealed as long as they actually live together. If it was just like a one-night stand, they don't want you to seal them. You would just seal the children to the grandparents as like foster children or guardianship or something like that. Because they'd still be with their mom, it would just be in a different configuration. Because you can't seal children to a single person. Okay. So those are my things. I was building a. And it really is fun when you use it.
That's awesome.
The find a grave, and then the obituaries, and probably it wouldn't work here because maybe I don't know. But pick a town, like if your ancestor came from Nevada, and a lot of times these people are related to my dad, and his family started out in Connecticut and ended up in Mesa, Arizona. So and they still will have these 10th cousins in South Carolina. Please come to Family History, y'all. We're open on Mondays from 12 to 4, Tuesdays from 10 to 6, Wednesdays 10 to 6, Thursdays 10 to 8, and Sundays from 2 to 6. We love to have people. We get bored with each other sometimes.